Today we're going to be talking about another fundamental part of the technical analysis that I use every single day, and that is wicks. So when I say wicks, I literally mean every single wick on every single candlestick. And what you'll immediately notice is that there's a lot of wicks, right? There's 2 wicks per candlestick. So there has to be a way to filter them out to only look at the wicks that we want to use that could be useful for us on a day-to-day basis. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the very first understanding that I want you to have, though, is that every single wick in the marketplace should be treated like a fair value gap. So if you don't know what fair value gaps are, go ahead and watch the prior videos in this bootcamp, and you'll see what fair value gaps are. But every single wick on every single candle should be treated like a fair value gap. So that means a lot of things, right? First and foremost, it means that, yes, they have the same 3 levels inside of it, just like a fair value gap does, where price could come into those levels and hold. If price closes over the top of a wick, it could be used as an inversion fair value gap, okay? I'm going to stop calling them fair value gaps to avoid confusion. They're just wicks, but you treat them identically to fair value gaps. So you close over it, it could become inversion. You have the same 3 levels inside it, etc., etc. But again, there's hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of wicks all over the place. So how do we filter wicks out to know exactly which ones to use, considering that there is so many all over the place? What is the criteria that we want to use to mark these wicks? So the very first criteria that we want to look at is if they're big. This sounds stupid. It sounds very simple. It is very simple. So what I mean by big is it big relative to all the wicks around it. So if I point out this wick right here, would you class this as necessarily big? Well, the one right before it is bigger than it. The one right after it is relatively smaller than it. This one's bigger than it. So I wouldn't really call this wick right here necessarily a big wick at all. However, if we take a look at something like this wick down here, or this wick right here, or this wick right here, or this wick right here, if you look at the surrounding candles, a couple candles besides it in each direction, you'll notice how every single one of them have smaller wicks on all around them. So a big wick just means that the surrounding candles have much smaller wicks than it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So when we look at this chart right here, the wicks that stand out to me as big are as follows. We have this one right here, which is relatively big compared to the one surrounding it. This one right here, which is big. We have this one right here, which is big compared to the one surrounding it. This is big, but for a reason that we'll get into in a minute, we would never be looking at this. We have this as a wick that's big compared to the one surrounding it. We have this as big compared to the one surrounding it. And we have this one being big compared to the one surrounding it. So overall, these are the big wicks on this little example, and this is our first criteria to understanding which particular wicks to look at. Now, this is great and all, but there's kind of a secondary criteria if you want to use them as inversion or breakout wicks, and that's that they hold the most price action. So this criteria point I'm going to call held the move. So what do I mean by held the move? So if we, for example, take a wick like this one right here, okay, and we highlight it and we drag it over the chart right here, what you'll notice is that this held the majority of the move before the breakout. So this held the move in one candle. So this held the move in one candle, in 2 candles, in 3 candles before it ever broke out and closed above that wick. So the wick that held the majority of the move, that held the most move, is going to be the one that you want to pick for your inversion wicks. So this one can be used on the opposite side to then hold you up. And remember, every single wick has 3 levels inside of it. So we have 1, 2, and 3 levels inside of it. Whereas we wouldn't use this wick here because this only held the move one time versus this one right here, which held the move 1, 2, 3 times before it broke out. So this lower one would be the correct wick in terms of turning inversion. With that being said, up here at the top of the move, this is something different. So if you just wanted to short a wick, you would go for the big wick right here, okay? And this goes for a long as well. If you just want to take a trade off of it in the direction that you want to go, so if you want to go down, if you want to take a trade, a short off of a wick, you're looking for relatively the biggest up wick in the range. That's going to be this one right here. And you could short this and try to take it down into new lows, for example. But if you're looking for the wick that gets closed over and held as inversion, you're looking for the one that held majority of price action, which is actually this one back here. Which again, you would never mark this one in terms of it being... You would never mark this one in terms of it being a big wick, which is right here. But this does fit the criteria of holding the move. This held the move once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times before it closed over and turned inversion. So this becomes the breakout wick in which price will oftentimes retest before it continues higher. And these breakout wicks are very often some of my most common entry points in terms of the entire market. And don't worry, we'll have an entire video going over entries for every single piece of technical analysis. So again, just to reiterate, if you want to short based off of a wick, or if you want a wick to hold you down in a move, you're looking for the biggest wick on the top of the chart generally. Going into the future, we'll specifically be talking about wicks that come off of high time frame levels, but I don't want to jump too far ahead in this bootcamp just yet. However, just keep that in your mind. But if you want to short off of a wick, or if you want a wick to hold you down, you're looking for the biggest wick on top. That can hold you down. Price comes into the midpoint right here, and price sells off. If you're looking for a wick to hold you up, you're looking for the biggest wick on the bottom to hold you up, which happens right here, or it happens right here. Generally, you're looking for them happening off of high time frame levels. If you're looking for the breakout wicks, you want to use the criteria of held the move. Which wick held the move the most? So in this case, this one did. In this case, this one did right here, etc., etc. So that is how I use and identify wicks in the market. Now, there's some other niche cases here where like you could start getting into more of like a logic flow type of behavior, right? Let's say that you just swept these lows down here, you ran these lows, you ran liquidity, traded into a high time frame level here, and then you broke up. Generally, you would never be looking at this wick right here. However, oftentimes on aggressive moves, for example, the market leaves a fair value gap open in the bottom of the market. So that means after you break above this order block, you don't really want to be seeing price come to the opening price of this order block. So where is it going to reach down into? This is where you could start to creatively use things like this wick that you closed over, to where if now you come to the midpoint of this wick, you're not overlapping this level, so a fair value gap can be left at the bottom of the move. And this is where you could get some really tight entries, where now you could be entering, for example, on the half of this wick with a stop loss right underneath the wick. Right underneath the wick, because you want that fair value gap to be created. So these wicks and these things can start to be used in a way to kind of think about the market logically to create very high probability, high risk reward entries. And when we get into projected defined ranges, very high time frame wicks are a huge help when it comes to projected defined ranges and high time frame level marking. The way that we use these wicks on a low time frame, on a 1 minute chart, is a little bit different than how we're going to be using them on a high time frame. However, the technical analysis section of this bootcamp is almost over, and right after we're done with the technical analysis section, we're going to move on to a high time frame level marking, which we're going to learn all about that. But this is how I use wicks in general. Hopefully you got something out of this. Wicks are one of the most powerful things that I use, one of the most common entry techniques that I use, and you're going to really want to understand wicks in general.